get that. Okay, so without further ado, please help me virtually welcome our amazing guest today, Charlene Rhinehart. So,
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
hi. Well, okay, so today's format is a little bit different. Instead of making Charlene just, pitch a PowerPoint and us watch the slides go by or her do in a presentation, I'm not saying she's not an amazing presenter, but I didn't want the burden to be on her. And in fact, I actually pitched it as, hey, let's do something like an interview with Oprah. I guess that makes me Oprah, and you can be Adele if you want. But what we're going to do is I have some questions and we're going to have a conversation a little bit about your life, your career, and your career trajectory. So let's start off with something easy. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What college did you attend? And what motivated you to be a CPA?
Yeah, so I am a first generation college student from the South Side of Chicago, Inglewood. I am the oldest of three. And when I was 16, I had a course, an accounting course. And then there were professionals that came into the accounting course and they were talking about the endless income opportunities and what they do on a day-to-day basis and how they could impact the community. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a CPA. Now, our parents have ideas of what we should be already, but I was like, Mom, no, I don't think so. But then I saw all the cool kids studying accounting and the lifestyle that it provided. I knew I wanted to be a CPA. And so I went to DePaul University and I studied accounting and finance and minored in community service studies so that I could have the credit hours needed to sit for the CPA exam.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to circle into something, community service studies. How has that impacted your view on business and how you kind of navigate this business space? It's an interesting minor to have, paired.
Yes. So when I think about business, I don't think about just the bottom line, that bottom number that everybody looks at. I think about the double bottom line, and that's social impact and the revenue that you're bringing to shareholders. But you also want to be able to do something with the money that you're bringing in. What's your mission? What's your purpose? How are you making a difference beyond the profits that you bring to the table? And so I wanted to minor in community service studies so that I could understand how nonprofits were organized and how they were impacting the communities and partnering with corporations to make a bigger impact. So I wanted to marry the both of those worlds because I felt that I wanted to be a mission-driven business leader. That's what was really important to me.
Wow, I really like that. That is so cool. I'm gonna start using that term, mission-driven, like business leader, pairing it, because I come from the social science world. So, nonprofits, that's familiar, but wow, that's so impactful. Okay, so growing up, did you have any role models, mentors in your life that pointed you towards accounting, finance, and just, the broad world of business?
Yeah, so my mom, she thought I would be great in accounting because I loved numbers and loved writing and reading. And so she thought I would be great in accounting. And so that's why I took the accounting class in high school because of my mom, solely because of her. And then I realized that it was something I could do because accountants have so many opportunities. You're not just a tax preparer or auditor or consultant or controller. There are so many ways you can leverage your background as an accountant. And that's what stood out for me because I didn't want to be stuck in any career path. I wanted options, right? When we first start school, we're always thinking, what should I do? I have to pick the perfect job, the perfect company, the perfect everything. But with accounting, I realized I didn't have to pick one thing and stick with it. If that didn't work for me, there would be so many other ways that I can leverage my degree to make a difference in any industry.
Wow, okay. I mean, I'm with you. I totally thought accounting was mostly, little visors and moving numbers and beans and stuff, old school backroom style. Wow, that's fascinating. So when you sent me your bio and when Hillary, actually one of my good friends, kind of was like, oh, you should meet Charlene. She's actually it was actually a connection over writing. I was blown away. You are a best-selling author and you've actually written hundreds, that's like hundreds of different articles all over the place. So what led you to start writing, and how do you weave together this kind of passion for writing and then just the way that you're leveraging, your accounting degree?
Yeah, so I've always loved writing. I think my first experience with writing was writing those scholarship applications, doing those
The
essays.
truth.
And every single day, I made it a goal to write a scholarship essay or write something that would lead me to an opportunity. So writing actually helped me to graduate college debt free because I was constantly writing every day. And then when I got into corporate America, I started creating the manuals and developing the financial statement and annual report content, doing the press releases. I started doing a lot of writing there. And after I left my job in financial services, I realized I wanted to do more writing. That was me, that was my style. And so I ended up doing freelance writing, then becoming an editor, then starting a business. And I write about accounting and finance content. So it's the best. I get to write about my experiences and what I wish I would have known in college or when I started my career. And even now, I get to teach investing concepts, teaching people how the stock market works. I get to use my background in accounting to reach a wider audience through my writing. So I love it because when I say that there are endless opportunities that you can create through writing, I mean that. If there's something you're passionate about, you can find a way to merge that with accounting and get the best of all worlds.
Wow. So we're going to pause here for a second. So you had your background is in accounting and community service, but did you take courses on writing to complement that, or was this just something through, practice and just determination?
Yeah. So when you're writing a scholarship application almost every day, I completed hundreds of scholarship applications. You become a better writer. You understand how to talk to your target audience, how to brand yourself, because I think one of the most important things you learn in college is who you are and how to showcase your value to the world, right? You get all of this information. How do you package it up so that the world understands the value that you bring? Right. So I had a lot of opportunities in college to write and learn. When I was in NABA, I was writing all the time, not just writing scholarships, but writing to corporate sponsors, right? You're writing these emails. When I was in Beta Alpha Psi, I had to write, right? You don't get away from it. So if you leverage these organizations and write about what you know, you'll be able to better communicate your value to anybody.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the Detroit investment project. I read in your bio that you were involved with quite a big project. Could you share a little bit about that with us? Because not all of us are as familiar with it. Some of the details, maybe like what it was like working on such a large scale project.
Yeah. So in 2014, 2014 or 2015, the CEO of JP Morgan announced that they would invest over $100 million in the city of Detroit. Now, this was huge because Detroit had gone bankrupt, and there was never a time when a bank had ever invested in a city that had gone bankrupt. So we were doing something new, something that had never been done before, and I had to create everything from scratch. And so I had to learn the accounting for this type of transaction. I had to develop the accounting policy, but I had to learn how to work with people who I'd never worked with before. I had to partner with different parts of the bank in order to put all of this together. And I'm so excited that we did it because this community development opportunity in Detroit, it led to a lot of small businesses getting the money that they needed, a lot of just investments in the city of Detroit that helped the city to recover after going bankrupt.
Wow. Okay, so you were pretty much creating things from scratch because there wasn't a blueprint for this type of project, right?
No, we had to create the blueprint.
Wow. Okay. And so working with people in different areas and people across, different different cities and stuff like that, how did you navigate, communicating this idea and keeping this, project on track of sorts?
Yeah, so there was a lot I didn't know, right? No one person knew everything because it had never been done before. Everybody had to leverage everybody. So what I would do is document all of my findings. Every time I spoke to somebody, I documented their insights, and then I documented the next person insights. I put it all together so that we could all be on the same page and understand how one area relates to another area. So communication, writing, documentation, all of that's important when you're working with a big team, because you want to make sure everybody understands. Don't assume anybody know anything, because they've probably never done your job before. They are an expert in the area they are an expert in. They may not know anything else. So you want to make sure you are simplifying the process and making sure everybody is on the same page. And I think that's the foundation for any project that you take on. You have to communicate and speak the same language. Make sure everybody on your team is speaking the same language in order to be a success on that team or make that project a success.
All right, so following that, speaking the same language. So the world of accounting is totally different from the world that I'm used to, and then all the moving parts that you had. So what communication tips would you give to students, going, wow, you're going to be talking to somebody who has no idea, is not an expert in your field. How did you kind of break down and get, the actual communication and flowing?
Yeah, I would say, how did I do it, or how would I recommend students do it?
What's some communication tips that you were like, oh, I've had to really sharpen these, and this helped me succeed?
Yes. So when I started corporate, I knew that I would have to work with people of different generations, different demographics, just different types of people that I hadn't worked with in college. It's a different world than the real world, right? And so I immediately joined Toastmasters so that I could become more competent in public speaking. Toastmasters is a speaking and leadership organization that shows you how to speak on stage without using all the filler words, but it also shows you how to speak extemporaneously. So if you're given a random question, it shows you how to do it. The foundation is learning how to practice consistently, but not only practice. The most valuable thing that you can gain when you're speaking is feedback. You want to know how you did, how you can improve. Did you meet the needs of your target audience, right? So in Toastmasters, you get feedback every time you deliver a speech. And I always tell people, feedback is the compensation you get for being brave enough to do something consistently, right? Feedback is that foundation you get. It's the greatest reward that you get from doing something consistently, because the only way you can grow in your journey is by getting that feedback. And so when I was working with my team, guess what? I would explain my role and my expertise, but then I would also follow up. Did you did I share that clearly? Were you able to understand? Is there anything else that may need more explaining? I'm here for you. Let me know if you have any questions. So feedback is so important when you are working with the team, because you just want to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Wow, yes, that's really important. Great advice. And Toastmasters, students, think about this.
Yes, it's
so
amazing.
In 2015, you won the title Miss Corporate America, and your platform was diversity in business. Why was this theme important to you?
I really loved interacting with various organizations, and my goal was to be able to put all of these organizations together so that we can multiply our impact. So when I was in college, I was in Beta Alpha Psi, National Association of Black Accountants. I had friends in Maha, and we would just always collaborate. And I just realized we are able to reach more people when we collaborate. And so I wanted to share the power of diversity in business with people in corporate America and just everywhere. I wanted people to understand what happens when you bring people with different skill sets and backgrounds and ideas and mentalities to the same table. What can you create? What can you produce? You're able to go beyond what you would have ordinarily thought about when you bring people with different talents and skills to the table.
Oh, yeah, awesome. So when COVID first started in 2020, I feel like it's been years ago. COVID first started in 2020, people were going remote, businesses were pivoting and adapting. How has the pandemic affected your work and your projects?
It's made everything so much easier. So everything I do is fully remote. And I've always liked the remote environment. I really like it because I feel like I can meet more people in a day. I can talk to more people. And it's just really convenient. I love using technology to make my life easier. And I feel like now we are forced to use technology. We don't have any choice right now. And I feel like it's made us think differently about the world we live in and how we tackle work. Like what was normal, what was acceptable 10 years ago, you can't keep doing that in order to be successful in the next 10 years. And I feel like the pandemic has accelerated that. And it's just made us want to learn more, want to understand things in a different way. It's increased our desire. And I feel like we're on fire because of it.
Oh, your enthusiasm is so, motivating. I feel like I need to like take some pump up lessons from you. So, on that, what does your daily routine look like now? Do you have a mantra or favorite quotation that inspires you to get going and get to work? Like how, since you're mostly remote, what do you do to kind of like pump yourself up, and what does your day look like?
Yeah, so one of my favorite sayings is be bold in your purpose, choose faith over fear, and live a life that you can fall in love with. And so I try to start my day thinking about that. How am I going to be bold? How am I going to embrace this day fully? Some days that could mean not doing any meetings, right? Other days it could mean making sure something is submitted, but making sure that I have some type of balance and routine that makes this abnormal situation a bit normal is very helpful. So I make sure that I do some type of meditation or yoga or just listening to somebody deliver a motivational speech or meditation helps jumpstart my day. Like I need that calmness to jumpstart my day. And then I'll plan out 3 things that I need to do because I'm not going to look at my calendar that has 10 or 20 things, right? That's overwhelming. I identify my 3 priorities that I'm going to tackle. What are 3 things you're going to do today that are going to get you closer to the goals? So I have my 3 must-haves, and then I organize my day around those 3 must-haves.
Oh, okay. So, with so many projects going on, how do you find kind of this sweet spot between work and life balance? Because now work is at home, work is with us, work is present on our phones, or we can hear our laptops, chiming. So, how do you find that sweet spot?
I'm intentional about having specific times in my calendar for specific things. So I put yoga in my calendar. I put drinking water in my calendar so that I
I
don't
need to do
forget,
that.
right? I have to put certain things in my calendar to make sure that I am taking time out. I also have a specific time period where I don't check emails, or I might not do any meetings from 9 to 5 on a certain day, right? I do things like that so I can give myself that mental space to perform even better the next day. Every day can't be go, go, go. So I may have the same morning routine, but my day may not be the same because I know my needs are differently on different days.
I totally get that. I'm gonna start adding water to drinking water into my as
It's
little
so
reminders.
important.
Totally gonna do that. So, what is something no one told you as a soon-to-be graduate that you wished you would have known before entering, quote unquote, the real world?
Oh, before I entered the real world, I wish someone told me that it's okay to make mistakes and ask questions in your 20s when you're starting out. You are not hired because you know everything, right? At 22 years old, they do not expect you to know everything. They expect you to be inquisitive, curious, and asking those questions and connecting with people so that you can learn more, but they don't expect you to be a know-it-all, right? They hired you because they feel like you would be a good fit with their organization. So what's your job on this journey? Your job in your 20s or however old you are when you graduate is to be a sponge. Soak up everything that you can, right? Soak it all up. Meet with the people you need to know in your organization. My first week at the company I went to, I met with everybody who was in the office, because I wanted to know what they did, how they got there, and if that's something I would want to incorporate into my career plan, right? It helped me to identify what I wanted or what I didn't want out of a career. And get that information and then use that to determine where you want to be an expert, right? You have all this, you've soaked up all this information, you've met people. Now identify your area of expertise, something that you can be known for, so that you don't ever have to worry about looking for a job, right? You want to have skills that are in demand. You want to be valued for that. And you want to be able to say you're adding value, and you want people to know that. So become an expert in something after you've done that process.
Wow, that's great advice. Be a sponge. Yes, that is awesome. So when was the moment for you when you realized that you had made it? Because there is this transitioning point from where you're like, I'm a college student, to, whoa, I'm really adulting, and I'm actually adulting decently, successfully.
Yeah, there are so many moments that were just transformative on my journey. I remember I was in corporate America for a year, and I was like going through all of these different positions, reviewing them, and I realized this is not the exact position I want. I want something else, and I don't want what everybody else have either. And so I went to a manager that I had never spoke to before and asked her about her team. And I told her I saw a need on her team, and I wanted to be able to fulfill that need with a new position. And I feel like that was the point when I made it, because I got the courage to basically create my own job. She allowed me to create my own job and description, and it actually became an entire department when I left. But when you're bold enough to take control of your career and say, this is where I want to go, and this is how I can add value, when you're not afraid to do that, I think that's the moment when you're saying, this is my career. I'm the driver, and I'm going to see how I can best add value and get people on board to believe in that vision, to understand that vision, so that we can create something amazing together.
Wow. Okay. So a little bit from way back before, when you were talking about, knowing your brand and stuff, how, as a young college student, were you already identifying this is me and positioning yourself, and, just having that wherewithal of knowing, I need to brand myself. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I want to be. And then pivoting and putting it out there. I mean, being brave enough and be like, I see a need. I want to fill that need. I mean, how did you, so young, so early on in your college life, start this branding process?
I think it came from a ton of rejection. That's where it came from, because when I was in high school, I was applying for a ton of scholarships, putting my all into it. And guess what? I didn't get most of the scholarships. And so I started reading the profiles of individuals who had won scholarships. And I was like, oh, wow. I like how they said that. I like how they showcased their value and what they added to the organization or what they added to their school. I love it. And so I realized that I had to learn how to articulate my value if I wanted to pay for college. Right? That's what it came down to. I had to learn this skill. I had to learn how to make myself marketable, how to be that perfect alignment, be that perfect match to what I was seeking. And so rejection taught me that when you keep getting rejected, you learn that you have to do something different if you want to achieve your goal. And so that made me even more determined and even more focused in college, because I knew what I had to do in order to start getting scholarships. Not only scholarships, it's the same process for internships. For anything else you do, you have to be able to share your value, brand yourself.
Wow. Yeah, so that's really great because I feel like when I was a college student, I was not so clear with who I was, and I didn't have a personal brand going for me just quite yet. I think I learned it after I started entering the real world, and I felt like I was playing catch up at that point. So that is some interesting advice. So from all the different things that you've been doing, you have the CPA side. You actually have two other certifications, or several others. We have the certified fraud examiner, and you're a project manager as well, right? What is the
Yes. So around that same time I received the CPA, I was like, okay, what else is out there? I want more. So
what
after
else
the CPA,
more?
right. So the next year I became a CFE, certified fraud examiner. And then the next year after that, I became a PMP, project management professional.
Wow. And have those different areas kind of married together along with your writing as well?
I don't use those now. It's almost over 10 years ago since I got those certifications. So they were valuable in my career in my 20s when I was a sponge, soaking up everything, learning, trying to see what I wanted. Those certifications opened doors for me to create new opportunities. So when banking regulations changed and they needed a project manager to manage all the reporting that had to be done for the Federal Reserve Bank and other regulators, I was able to step up and do that because I had gained a lot while studying for the project management professional exam. So I got some hands-on project management experience during that time. So those certifications opened me up to opportunities that I probably wouldn't have been able to take advantage of if I didn't have them.
Wow. Okay, so going back to your writing, you have quite a prolific writing a career. I mean, you had, what was it, Nasdaq, Accounting Today, Motley Fool. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. What was the first article that, if you can remember, what was the first article or kind of pitch that you were going with? Like
Ooh,
that first, Charlene, this is me submitting an article. What was that for you?
I started my first blog in 2010 when I started corporate America. That was my first article in 2010. Almost over a decade ago. And I was just talking about being bold, going after your dreams. I was talking about my process to compete in a pageant because I had never done anything like that. That was the first one. And then when I left my job in my 20s, I started Career Guidance Academy. And one of my first articles was about how to brand yourself on LinkedIn, how to turn your resume from invisible to irresistible. So I wanted to teach people those foundational skills so that they would never have to worry about finding a job, because jobs will find you and look for you if you brand yourself.
Wow, okay. So what are some of the projects that you have? You have actually quite a few under. So what are some of the first ones that after you left your kind of corporate job, what that you launched into?
After I left my corporate job, I dabbled into entrepreneurship. I actually danced around the world for 6 months on a tour because I wanted to gain more diversity and leadership abilities. And I felt that if you do something in a different country or do something you've never done before, you will grow. You will get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's one of the best traits you can develop as a leader. When you're trying to guide a team, you won't know everything, but you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable so that you can make those bold decisions that your team needs at that time. And that's what I wanted to learn when I was traveling around the world for 6 months. And then I just started writing about my experiences. I started blogging, and then I started getting articles in the Huffington Post, and then people started paying me to write. That felt really good. And then last year I wrote over 300 articles because I identified my expertise, my specialty, and I started writing about taxes and investing. And so when you're able to write about a specific topic, specialized, you can write a lot of articles, right? When you have a specialty, it's so easy to churn out a lot of content.
Oh, so from all these different projects, different roles, different opportunities, what have you learned from your work?
What have I learned? I learned that staying focused pays off. right? If there's anything you want to do, it's possible if you're willing to stay focused, eliminate the distractions, identify what you want. Identify what you want, because that's one of the hardest things for most people. If you don't know what you want, how do you know where you are going? It's not possible. You have to set a GPS, right, for yourself. So know what you want, identify your goals, and surround yourself with people who have done what you want to do. That will fast track your way to success. That's why college is so powerful, because if you're a freshman, guess what? There's a sophomore there who's probably taken the classes you've taken or had the teachers that you're wondering about. They've already done it, right? So now you get to connect with all these people who've done it, and that accelerates your success.
Wow. Okay, so what advice would you give young soon-to-be professionals about being confident and taking on leadership roles?
Do it scared, right? Do it scared. Let's say there's a position open for you to be president. Raise your hand, even if nobody else is doing it, even if you don't have any idea what that entails, what to do, raise your hand, because the growth that will come when you do something that you've never done before is powerful. That will make you more resilient, adaptable in every other situation that you encounter. You want to build these muscles now, right? The only way to get comfortable is to do things uncomfortable. The only way to be more confident is to do things when you're scared. When you're scared, and if you keep doing things that you're scared of initially, guess what? You'll soon master it. And people will wonder where that confidence is coming from. It's because you kept doing it over and over and over. Even when you were scared, even when you were rejected, even when you doubted yourself, you still did it over and over. You showed up. Because you've done it so many times, it's normal to you, right? So that's it. That's what you have to do. You have to just show up and do it even when you're scared, because you never know how that one thing will lead to something else that leads to the best opportunity you probably walked into.
So you just alluded to rejection. What advice would you give to students about facing rejection? Maybe be it a job application or just when contributing amongst your team members or pitching projects. How do you, what advice and how do you deal with like facing rejection?
You really have to reject the idea of rejection, right? And what I mean by that is, if you receive a no, that's only a not yet, right? It doesn't mean it's not coming to you ever, just not right now. So you have to rethink how you think about rejection, right? Those 100 no's will one day be a yes. All you need is that one yes. So don't worry about those no's. That's irrelevant. That's your practice. That's your training. Enjoy that training. Enjoy that practice, right? But know that if you keep growing and going during this process, you will achieve your goal or something better, right? Because sometimes when you're being rejected, guess what? You were probably aiming too low. That's probably not for you. That's probably something greater in store. And so now, because you kept going, you get to unlock what that greater is. You just have to keep going. And rejection, guess what? It's a test to see if you will keep going. It's only a test. Are you going to pass it?
That is so true. So there's been talk when some of the seminars that I've been attending about this concept of imposter syndrome. How do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
Think about it like this. Everybody is probably dealing with imposter syndrome. So if you know that the next person is also dealing with it, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. No. But when you're thinking about imposter syndrome, think about what I bring to the table versus what I don't. When you shift your thinking from what you don't have to what you do have, that's what will show up in your experience, right? You have to shift your thoughts. Your thoughts will create the life that you want or don't want. So you really have to be careful. Shift your thoughts. If imposter syndrome starts to sneak up on you, think about it. Why am I here? You won't be any place in which you don't belong in. You were here for a reason. Why? Because you're here. So why am I here? You are here for a reason. Identify that reason and own that reason. You are here, right?
Yes, yes.
And
I
then
love that. Keep
yes,
going. Tell me more.
surround yourself with people who build you up. Surround yourself with your cheerleaders, right? That could be your mentors, your coaches, your personal board of directors. We all need a personal board of directors who can cheer us up, help us get to the next opportunity and keep going on that journey, right? So you want to just do these things to put you in a position where you're not thinking about imposter syndrome, but you're thinking about the value you bring and the opportunities you can create wherever you are.
Ooh, sounds like I need a hype person. We all need a little hype person, you know? All right. So, do you have any new projects, secret projects, anything that you could share with us what you're up to now?
Yes. So I'm always trying to figure out how can I share this information, my experiences with other people to make the path easier, because so many people have come before me and made the path easier because they shared resources with me. So one thing that I do with my writing is create platforms that allow me to do that. Last year, I started Chicago Southsider on Facebook's bulletin platform. So I work directly with Facebook and I have a chance to share content specifically for anybody who is interested in resources, activities, events, any of that that will help them get to the next level. So I share scholarship opportunities, internships, fellowships, jobs for adults, business grants. I share it all to make someone else's life easier, because that's what it's all about. We're all connected in some way. And if we can make somebody else's life easier, job well done.
Awesome. Do you have any books or podcasts that you would recommend? I mean, you have done all these different certifications, you have all this experience, but what are you listening to? What are you reading?
Well, I know 10 years ago, one of my favorite books, and it still is, I don't think too many books have beat it, is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I love the Success Principles because it really teaches you how to set goals and how to succeed. Very motivational. That was really good on my journey. And there are just so many other books out there. I'm big into finance, so I read a lot of finance books now and entrepreneurship books. But foundation for me, Jack Canfield has been amazing. Right now, I'm reading about CPAs, which is tons of fun because we don't get to read too many books about CPAs. So I have a ton of books on my desk about Chicago Southside entrepreneurs and CPAs who played a role in the prosperity of Chicago's Southside.
Oh, cool. Okay. Would you be willing to share your LinkedIn or contact info for students who are interested in connecting with you? If so, we can drop it into the chat. And then I'd like to kind of turn a little. I see that we do have a question in the chat, but I wanted to open it up so that our students can ask you some questions since we have you here as a captive audience. So if you drop anything that you'd be willing, contact info, LinkedIn, some sort of, website to direct students to, that would be great. And then let's see, there is a question here. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. When you did this, along with the many successes in this process, did you come along any bumps in the road? So, oh, that's a good one. And then Ryan, I see that your hand's raised, so you can go right after that.
That's a good one. I always come across bumps in the road, right? I wouldn't be here if I didn't come across bumps in the road, because that's what happened. When you grow, you experience growing pains when you're getting to the next level of anything you do, right? So in high school, my rejections when it came to scholarships, I didn't really get many, right? That was a bump in the road. What did I have to do? Keep going. College, right? I didn't get every scholarship. There was one time in which I had to take out a private loan because I didn't have enough money. What did I do? I kept going and applying for more scholarships, right? And then in your professional career, there will be things that you have to overcome. What do you have to do? Find out what you need to know to get where you need to go. There's always a solution, no matter what bump you experience in your journey. You just have to be willing to find that solution.
So true. So awesome. Okay, Ryan, your turn.
All right. First of all, Charlene, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but thank you for your time today. You really spread some good advice and good feedback. But I just wanted to ask you, you were alluding to feedback being really important for growth a couple minutes ago. And I was just wondering for your input on how to effectively take negative criticism and negative feedback, both in the form of constructive criticism as well as just strictly negative feedback, like just negativity.
That's a good question. And so typically, well, when you're in the Toastmasters environment, when we talk about feedback, we try to practice a sandwich approach, right? We try to give positive feedback, areas of opportunity. We don't call it weaknesses. And then we wrap it up with things that we enjoyed about that person or the strengths that that person has, because we always want to focus in on strengths. But guess what? Everybody doesn't follow the Toastmasters way of giving feedback. So how do you handle that? You cannot let that feedback destroy your confidence or impact how you move. Like, you can't let all feedback destroy you, right? You're just taking it in. It's just an input. It's just only one input out of so many other inputs, right? And so you have to sit back and think to yourself, why does this person probably feel this way, right? And what can I do with this? What can I do? Can I use it to make me better? Or do I just say, hey, this was a one-time thing, a one-time incident, that's why that person felt that way, and it's not nothing that I need to let tarnish me or hurt me? You should never allow feedback to hurt you and tarnish you. Always allow feedback to expand the ways in which you look at something, right? So the feedback we get, either we can take it or leave it, but always think about how we can grow from that. Growth is like the number one goal on our journey, right? Even if we don't like it, how can I grow? How can I take this and grow? Maybe it's me not taking what this person said so seriously because I know what this person's intentions are, right? So it's understanding how you should grow and use that feedback on your journey. Think about how you should use it.
Thank you so much for your input. I really appreciate it. Thanks again.
No problem, Ryan. Thank you for the question.
All right, students. Anyone else have questions for Charlene? We have a brilliant mind here, all sorts of experience. Let's ask her a few questions before we let her go. If you're not careful, I will call on you. So come on, students.
How did you figure out that you wanted to start your own like business?
That's something I always wanted to do. I wanted to do that as a teenager. And so I wanted to gain experiences that will allow me to start a business. And I knew if I started a business, I would be able to hire people. That was one of my goals. I grew up in a community where there were limited resources. Many people didn't have jobs. And I wanted to be a job creator. And I knew that I would have to go through entrepreneurship in order to do that. That doesn't mean that I'll never work a corporate job or I don't work corporate jobs anymore, but I knew that adding the business to my portfolio of what I did would allow me to have a certain type of impact on my community.
Oh, nice.
Thank you for the question.
All right, students.
I had one question. It's a little more technical, but I was wondering, so you did the CPA in college, right?
I did
Like,
after college.
Oh, okay. So what helped you do well in the CPA? Because it seemed like even after the CPA, you're ready to learn more. So I assumed it went well.
Yeah, so I would say I loaded up in classes in college. So I took as many accounting and finance classes as I could. I also took a CPA review course at my class, at my school. And then I took a regular review course when I graduated my program. So I did that, but I also had an accountability partner. I would say that was a big thing for me because studying alone, you only know so much. And when you need to ask questions, who can you ask questions of if you're studying by yourself, right? 2 heads, 2 brains are better than one. So I had an accountability partner. We studied almost every day each week. And then what else? I had an internship. I had an internship in audit. So when I took my exam for audit, it was much easier than everything else because I had real world experience that I could relate to.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Great question.
All right, who else? Somebody else have a question? Thoughts, comments?
Do you think it's worth getting your CPA?
Absolutely. I would say having a CPA has made my life so much easier. I had 6 years of not working in corporate America, but last year I was getting contracts to do what I did over 7 years ago because I had a CPA, right? And so even though I didn't have any CPA related work experience for 6 years, corporations were reaching out to me to do work because I was a CPA, right? Normally people with a gap in their resume couldn't even get an opportunity or won't have phone calls, but people will always want you if you have a CPA designation. That's how it is right now. It's so much easier to land opportunities.
I feel like I'm
Okay, that's
lacking
nice.
now. Oh, that's so interesting. Can you speak to that really fast, that gap on the resume? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, so I left my corporate job in financial services in 2015. And in 2021, I had companies reaching out to me to help with their financial statements. I don't know if it was timing because a lot of people quit their job, but everything just worked out for me. They saw my information on LinkedIn. People started reaching out. And on LinkedIn, I made sure I highlighted my expertise during that time, which were financial statements. That's what I did. And luckily that was a match with what employers were looking for last year. So I got calls to do contracts at corporations where I helped them with their 10Q and 10K. And so when it comes to any resume gaps, if you can talk about how you've been relevant, even though I didn't actually do the work, guess what? I was still on committees. I was the chair of the Illinois CPA Society Tax Committee. I was involved in a whole bunch of other committees for the CPA Society and AICPA, and I was writing about different topics. So I was still connected to the profession and still honing my skills, attending webinars and trainings, even though I didn't have direct work experience. So what does that come down to? Always branding yourself and always growing on the journey. If you are always growing, opportunities will always keep unfolding, because even people who don't have any work gaps, guess what? They may not be learning and growing on the job. So it might be hard for them to get another job, even though they don't have any gaps.
Well, that's fantastic. Awesome. All right, so we have just a couple of minutes, so let's see. Anyone else have any questions before we let Charlene go? Let's go with maybe one more question. If you're not careful, I will call on you. I see several of my students. So actually, I am going to call on someone. Sorry, putting you in the hot seat. Shams, as president of Beta Alpha Psi, is there anything that you would like to say or comment on, or just ask Charlene?
I kind of had a feeling you were going to call me, but but I just want to say thank you for coming. I also had like one question in mind, since I'm doing like an internship in accounting right now. Did you question your career, or did you ever feel like you're not having fun while you were working? And everybody like always says like you're supposed to have fun with what you're doing.
Yes, I question my career every day in the beginning of my career. And that's why I constantly say be a sponge, soak up everything, because what you're doing may not be for you, but there are other opportunities in accounting that may be for you. And your job on the journey is to find that match between what you love and what your skills are, because there are so many opportunities, right? Maybe audit is not for you, but guess what? Maybe tax is. Maybe tax is not for you, but maybe consulting is. Maybe that's not for you, but maybe being a small business CPA or financial statement preparer is for you, right? or maybe working with athletes on their money and their accounting and finance is for you, right? There's so many ways that you can benefit from your degree. You don't have to stay anywhere that you are not satisfied in. You know, give it a try, do the work, give it your all. But if you don't like it, there are so many more opportunities out there for you. And that's why I made the transition.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
so on that note, thank you, Charlene, so much for sharing with us. This has been an amazing experience. We are so grateful that you had the time and were willing to invest in us. Students, if you haven't already copied the connection, the website that Charlene dropped into chat, do it. If not, you can email me and I can give it to you. I think I saw Bethany here. Bethany is the coordinator of the Women's Resource Center, also one of our co-sponsors. So shout out to Bethany for allowing us to be part of your amazing Women's History Month. And students, if you have a chance, please check out some of the other events going on this month. I'm gonna drop it into the chat box once more. And I think that's it for me. Charlene, do you have a walkout song? I know it's putting you on the spot, but we were talking about having a hype person. Do you have a walkout song that gets you pumped that you would play?
Oh, that's a good one. Anything Beyonce, right? You can't go wrong with Beyonce.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Charlene. Make sure you get her contact info. You have been a wonderful resource and a great chatting companion. I would interview you any day. So thank you. Students, have a wonderful night and be safe on spring break. I'll see y'all. Bye.
Enjoy spring break. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer.